G'day everyone, welcome to practice. Today we're going to be practicing some restorative Yin Yoga. So we'll be spending 3 minutes in each of these postures with as little cueing as possible. We're just going to find the pose and be still. If you have a bolster, it will be super handy for today's practice. If you don't have one, suck eggs. No, I'm joking. If you have a big thick blanket, roll it up almost like you would roll up a sleeping bag so that it's nice and firm and you'll be able to put a little bit of weight on top of it. And then once you grab that, we'll get right into it. So what pose to better start our practice in than Shavasana? If there's one pose that really teaches us to be still, it's the Shavasana, corpse pose. So what we're going to do is take our bolster or our rolled up blanket, put it towards the end of the mat so that we can allow our ankles to rest across it. And as you lower yourself down, just be sure you're trying to eliminate as much arching in the low back as you can. So tuck the tailbone under, allow your toes just to naturally fall out to either side. Feel as much length of your spine, ground onto the mat as you can, and then once you feel steady, you feel comfortable. And the idea is to be still. So if you can limit the fidgets and the wiggles along the way, then once you arrive in the posture, you'll be able to stay there a little bit longer. Just letting your eyes close down. Noticing your breathing. Feeling everything that's touching the earth, mat or bolster get a little heavier. Take our mind away from the idea of work and effort. Trying to move more towards this idea of rest and ease. Common for the mind to become active when in stillness. Try not to resist thinking that that's an impossibility. Instead, acknowledge the thoughts that come up without judgment. They'll come and they'll go, but they won't remain. So there's no need to attach. Gentle rise and fall of your belly as you get a little more comfortable and breathe here in this space. And take one last breath. And from here, just gently allowing yourself to fall off to the right hand side. So taking your knees with you off the bolster. Maybe resting your cheek onto your arm. And slowly working to come up towards a seat, using as little effort as possible to get there. Once you arrive, we'll work towards a butterfly pose. So we'll bring the soles of feet together, let the knees fall out wide. And with your bolster or your rolled up blanket, you could either press one edge just in front of your feet and rest your forehead onto that. Just note, depending on how rigid or how soft your object is you're using, it may start to move throughout the process, and we do want to be still, so just be mindful of that. If you have a couple of blocks you can prop under one end, that might help you. Or if you have more space, you can just lay the bolster flat and allow yourself to melt over it. So remember, trying to get as much of those fidgets and wiggles out along the way, so that when it comes time to be still, you're actually able to find that stillness. And when you're ready, let your head rest down and allow yourself to be there. So one of the principles we work towards in Yin Yoga is to find an appropriate edge. We find the edge and we work to not push past it. We're trying to stay in that space of ease. We're not trying to cause the body stress or tension, but instead we're trying to relieve. It takes a little more time for us to move past that muscular stretch and start to get deeper into the connective tissue, the fascia. And gently allow the joints to open and respond to the sensation of being calm, being still. From where you are in your shape, just take another 3 breaths. Your last breath in here. And as you mindfully work to come out of the posture, you set your bolster / blanket to the top of your mat. As you lift your chest, use your hands for support to bring your knees together. We'll set the feet down, take the hands behind the hips. Just lift the hips in the air for a moment. Feel that stretch across the front of the body, that lift in the hips there. We'll gently lower down, coming towards a deer pose, so crossing the right shin parallel with the top edge of your mat, the left shin parallel with the left edge of the mat. So if you practice a lot of yoga, folding over your thigh here in the deer pose, you may not feel too much at all. So if you wanted to feel a little bit more in the shape today, you could take your right shin and cross that on top of your bolster. This is just going to give you a little more of a stretch through the outside of your right hip and into your right glute. But it may be a little stronger than you're used to, so just remember, if you need to, you just take out that bolster from underneath the leg. So we're folding over the thigh. If you have that bolster underneath you, you might like to take your left forearm to the sole of the foot, interlace the fingers, and allow yourself to drop here. You can rest the head wherever it feels comfortable.
the longer you're in the shape, the more you'll feel the sensation move away from tension and resistance towards surrender and softening. This doesn't happen immediately, and that's why we spend a little longer when we're in a yin posture. And we'll give ourselves 3 more breaths here. Take one last breath in. And using the support of your hands just to walk yourself back up to a seat. And working to switch over, taking left leg out in front of us, parallel, left shin with top edge of mat, right shin with right edge. And if you use the bolster underneath your leg on that previous side, try and do the same for this. And if of course that's not for you, you just remove that bolster and pop it in front of your shin. You will work to lean our torso out over that left leg. If you want to interlace your hands, taking right forearm to the bottom of the left foot and allowing yourself to get nice and deep here. Starting to feel the weight of your torso rest against your leg. And that gentle weight of your torso pressing down again will help to better release the outside of that left hip. But we never try to force anything in Yin Yoga. Never try to push or press ourselves anywhere. Instead, we want to take our time. Because you're the one who's decided to practice. You're the one that wants to receive some sort of payoff from practicing. We practice because we want to do something good for ourselves. If we want to achieve that, we need to take care of ourselves and understand how it is that we're feeling and how we need to take care of ourselves. Think about counting out 5 more breaths here. As long as you can, inhaling, letting go. 4 more like that. Your breath, your count. Take one last breath in here. Taking time to slowly rise up. So hips are slowly starting to release. We will work towards a caterpillar pose now. So if you're unfamiliar with that shape, we take our blanket or our bolster underneath the hamstrings. Shuffle your sitting bones back and allow yourself to fold over your thighs. If you do have a little more space in the posture and you know that your hamstrings are quite mobile, you could slide that bolster so it's underneath your ankles. Allow your legs to straighten a little more and fold over that way. Wherever you take yourself, know that you will be there for 3 minutes, and you want your head to be supported by something. It can be really easy to take yourself to a space that may be comfortable for the first few breaths or so. But if you're forcing yourself to be there because that's the shape you've taken yourself in and you need to readjust, just let yourself readjust. It's always better to be 100% comfortable. Continuing to breathe fully and deeply into the shape. We'll be here 3 more breaths. Last breath in. Beginning to rise slowly. Again, taking time for your spine to lengthen and lift. And from this space, we'll work to lower ourselves down. We'll take our prop and set it underneath our sit bone, so lift your hips up high. You want to feel supported by your prop as you extend the legs out long in front of you, so our hips are slightly higher than everything else here. You want to feel a stretch through the front of your hips. If you feel any compression in your low back, it might be a little more supportive for you to turn your bolster lengthways. Wherever you've taken yourself, you want to feel length through the front of the hips and space to reach the arms back behind you. And allow yourself to be completely still. take 5 more breaths where you are. Again, just letting yourself be here. And that's 5 of your own breaths. You may be breathing a little faster, a little slower, it doesn't matter. And take one last breath here. And slowly begin to wiggle your fingers and toes at first. Take your arms down alongside your body. Start to walk your feet in towards you. If you had your bolster long ways, we'll just press to lift the hips. Take that bolster across the sitting bones again. Have a little more of your low back under the bolster and just allow your knees to fall in towards your chest here. So finding a little bit of rounding through the spine, a little bit of flexion. Allow the knees just to open out a little wider. Lift your head slightly and pull your chin in towards your chest. Final resting pose. Slide the bolster down. Take soles of feet together. The knees fall out wide. Now this pose to round off our practice, so you decide the length of your posture. We've allowed our hips to open, our hamstrings to lengthen, to find space in the low back, and opening in the front of the hips. As you allow yourself to find stillness, I trust that you would take yourself out of the posture when you feel ready. I want to thank you so much for finding your edge, for allowing yourself to be still in the posture, and finding that sensation of ease. As always, I thank you so much for practicing. And I hope to see you again soon. Peace. I trust that you'll take yourself out of the posture when you feel. You stay as long as you need. Thank you so much for finding your edge, allowing yourself to arrive in the pose, and for welcoming the stillness. From me to you as always with thanks. Peace.